Here are 3 controversial lessons after 5 years of online entrepreneurship. I can virtually guarantee that you will not agree with all 3. So let's get right into it. First and foremost, working hard is often counterproductive. I know that's quite a statement, especially to start out the video, but let me explain. Whenever you start out with your business, your motivation is through the roof. Just creating the website is already fun. Reaching out to new clients and learning the ins and outs of the business is always going to give you a lot of energy. And through these high periods, you're happy to work 10, 12 hours a day. No problem. But then once the excitement starts to wear off and once you start to see the challenges and the daily activities that you start to grind through every single day that you might not love, the motivation will start to wear out. And this is not a time to stop working hard because, of course, it just means that there are challenges that you need to solve. And as long as those challenges persist, you're still going to feel maybe tired, maybe like you don't want to work on them. But the only solution is actually going in and fixing the client work, fixing the acquisition system so that clients start to roll in consistently, start to create content so that you reach new people 24/7. And as you start to see success with it, and once you start to see success with it, once again, you feel like you could work forever on the business because now you're actually getting some traction and everything is much easier. But the challenge here is taking a long-term perspective. Because once we realize that these challenges will always come and go, taking the perspective of working really hard until you get burnt out or until you don't really feel the same excitement will, at least for me, start to create a negative association with the actual business and the work that I need to do. If I just keep following the advice from all the motivational videos of keep working, never stop, and basically hustle 24/7, because there's massive diminishing returns. Once you're tired and once you don't feel like working another couple hours, sometimes it's better to just leave it for tomorrow once you got new ideas and once you're ready to go back with new energy to solve the problems that popped up yesterday or the week before. Instead of having a mindset of I cannot quit, all the motivational videos say that I must never quit and never give up, which ends up backfiring because the next day you're all burnt out. You don't even want to look at the business. And a constant cycle of going all in until you burn out and then resting until you're ready to get back on track is actually very toxic, at least in my experience, where I previously had 3 months where I went all in, working early in the morning till late afternoon. And then when I got so tired of the business, I would just take a couple weeks where I did minimal work. And of course, problems start to pop up. But the problem is that you no longer have the motivation. So to really pick yourself back up from this low point, you're dealing against not wanting to, 1, work on the business, and number 2, dealing with a lot of problems. So things start to stack up on you, and it's double as hard to get back up here. So creating a regular schedule of work where you don't work too little or too much, just the right amount to work on the most important tasks that will actually move the needle forward without wasting your time and without feeling like you're constantly trapped in activities that you don't want to do, for me is the best middle ground. Of course, there are some times that I just want to go all out, but I've learned to pressure myself much less to keep on working even if I'm tired or even if I just need to take a break. Because once again, throughout this whole journey, the one thing that I reminded myself most was that if I truly wanted to be productive, instead of pushing myself to the max and then having a couple weeks or even days where I wanted to do minimal work, I just reminded myself the least productive thing you can do is being depressed. So if I was pushing myself all the way to burnout, which at least to me is reflected in a quite depressive state-ish, once again, I'm not going to get anything done. And it's just better to not reach that point and just to keep the work steady instead of huge ups and downs. Number 2, and I'm sure a lot of people are not going to agree, but just doing your job isn't good enough. Throughout my journey, my main service that I provided to companies was lead generation. And a lot of times I would reach a point where I would generate a ton of leads for the company. And at that point, I would be getting the job done, what I was hired to do. But they oftentimes found that the leads were worthless. And from my point of view, it was just simply that they weren't reaching out fast enough. But there were some times that they were actually right, that the way that the leads were being generated was not conducive to them being scheduled in for an appointment. So for example, if I created a really good ad that promised maybe a bit too much, when trying to schedule those appointments and getting them to show up, it would be much harder than just getting the contact info of someone who just saw a really good offer to reduce their electric bill, for example. And I could completely take the stance of we're doing our job correctly. It's our client's fault for not getting results. But at the end of the day, if I truly want to guarantee results, I got to take a look at how's the process looking for the clients behind the scenes. Not just on the top of funnel by generating the leads, but also how they were qualifying them, how they were scheduling them, and how they were guaranteeing that they were going to show up. And once again, I was not hired for all of this. I was just hired for the lead generation, but just doing my job would have guaranteed failure. So that's a stance that we have taken in the past couple of months and even years, where if we see an area of improvement with the client, we will analyze how to solve it and provide different solutions. And number 3, the most important one, having a team over having automations over having anything else. Because before I thought, let me just do it all myself. I'll build a team once I have a bit more cash flow and once I'm ready to grow a little bit more. But this was a complete limiting belief, which had me stuck in the day-to-day operations for the longest time, doing my own sales, servicing myself, and at the end of the day, having my business tied completely to me. Instead, I found that the best way to do so is building the team from day one, with doing some type of revenue share model. That way we can scale up much faster. We can also bring on people to delegate work from day one, start to optimize every single process from day one, and most importantly, not be tied completely to the business. Because before, yes, it's an online business. Yes, I have an open schedule, but the sales calls were stacking up on my calendar while the client work was also stacking up. So it felt like the more I grew the company, the more trapped that I was going to be. So it also actually held me back from growing the company because of that issue. If I get more clients, I have more work and I'm already slammed. I don't have enough budget to outright hire a person. Or what if my revenue goes down a little bit next month? I don't want to have any issues. So right now, let me just do it myself. Once again, that was a complete limiting belief, which just held me back for the longest time. And at the end of the day, it's the difference between being stuck in the operations and having a vehicle that can scale on autopilot. So those are the 3 controversial lessons that I've learned the hard way. Let me know which ones you agree with and which ones you disagree with and why. I'm actually very curious to know if, for example, working harder always has had a positive impact on you long term. With that being said, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.